Hello and welcome to the Produce Aisle. Today I want to talk about the stereo field. So starting out, one of the main critiques I heard over and over again from my mentors about my productions is that they sounded like things were, quote, sitting on top of each other, like 2D, lacking dimension. And this was frustrating because I didn't know what to do about that. I wasn't being told how to fix it. So I'm going to give you the rundown of 3 main things to look at to give your productions more depth and width and space. And if you this sort of thing, hitting that like button is kind of like giving me a high five. So don't leave me hanging. Number 1, panning. This makes an incredible difference instantly. I like to think about panning in a way that emulates where the performers would be if they were sitting on stage or in a concert hall, like the sopranos on the right, basses in the middle, altos on the left, tenors towards the middle. Rock productions, think about where you would put the electric guitar, the bass, the keys, the singer, and pan them like that. I did a video about mid-side recording, which you can see here, and that gives you dimension in the kind of front middle of the sound. I'm going to take a look at that. Let's just do an example here. I start this piece with a piano and there's chords and then there's single notes. But if I do this a little bit more like left hand, right hand, winds it out a little bit. And I have these little sound effects going whoosh, 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 just for effect. And that just gives interest to both sides. All kinds of things you can do with panning. But it tends to be a good idea to leave the basses right down the middle and the kick drum right down the middle. Second thing to really look at to widen your stereo field or to give more dimension to your stereo field is think about the frequency spacing and arranging of your instruments. Sounds that are in similar frequency ranges can kind of like fight each other to be heard, especially those most popular instruments like the keys, the guitars, and the voice. So first take a look at your arrangements to see if you can drop out some parts to give others the spotlight, and then look at your EQing to carve out more space. Just boost the tastiest frequencies that make the instrument sound like that unique instrument, and then cut out unnecessary frequencies. Sidechain compression can also help a lot with instruments that are in each other's frequency ranges. Classic example is the bass and drums. So let's look at some of that now. I can check if the frequencies are in the way of each other by looking at the real-time analyzers that are in the Pro channel. So let's take a look at this respace and this kick drum. You can hear that pumping. That's compression so that they don't get in each other's way because they have similar frequencies. In that one. And then let's look at this one. So you can see there's still that, they both have that boost around there. So around that like 100 mark, I want to make sure that they have plenty of space. And so that's where that compression really helps. And I kind of want to move this over a little bit more so it pumps even more. Well, that's where sidechain compression can help them get out of each other's way frequency-wise. One of the last things you can do to widen your stereo field, and I say this last to prioritize the first 2, is to use plugins. There's a free plugin called Wider that can be a really great thickener. And I believe it was Andrew Wang that thought it used some kind of phase trickery to make it seem like it's a wider sound. So it's a great plugin, nothing against plugins. It's a good idea to make sure you're looking at your panning, make sure you're looking at your frequency spectrums and carving out space for everything before throwing on a bunch of plugins. Along with plugins, there's reverb. Reverb can really add a sense of space and make things sound farther away and less intimate. So rather than putting reverb on everything in the same amount, you might think again about the setup and how the whole ensemble may look on stage. So those horns in the back row, they might do well with a little bit more reverb. And then those flutes in the front could do with a little less. So that's another way to think about it. Let me show you this Wider plugin. It's pretty cool. Wider is by Polyverse, and again, it is free. I'll put the link in the description. I put it on this little synth lead, so here it is without it. Which is fine, but I want to bring that out a little bit more since it's kind of the main event. So let's see if we can really widen the stereo field to 100% there. And just make it feel a little just bit bigger. Here's without it again. And with. So it does a combo of making it a little bit louder, but also just phase trickery. And I have reverb in differing amounts on a lot of different things, and that's why I like to have reverb as a bus process, so that I can do sends to each of the different tracks and give them each a different amount of reverb, just the amount of reverb that they need. I hope that was helpful and or inspiring, and please do give a like if it was. I'd love to hear your comments on how you go about your stereo field dimensionality. Hope you have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you, and I will see you next time.